Hello, Doctor.
Hello, Stuart. How are you?
It's good to be talking to you, sir. What time is it for you now?
It's up past 11 in the day.
Okay. Is this, are you depriving yourself of any sleep or anything else you'd rather be doing right now, calling me?
No, they wouldn't. No, this is 100% what I want to be doing right now.
What's the weather like out there?
Oh, it's immaculate. Australia's, mate. It's yeah, it's awesome over here. Yeah.
Are you on your boat or not today?
No, I'm not on my boat. I'm in my office today. Doing a couple of videos, and I'm doing a thesis for a PhD. So I'm scribbling words and. Just wanted to, but I tell you what, it's good to be speaking to you, Stuart. How are you going?
What's that?
I said it's good to be speaking to you. How are you going?
Very good to be speaking with you. It's going well. I'm in the middle of some family stuff and some other personal stuff, so I haven't been directing too much energy to our shared passion lately, but also a big reason for that is because the members of the Jehovah's Witness Church in Vancouver have given up, as far as I can tell, setting up at those locations in downtown Vancouver. They're not in Robson Square, they're not at the Burrard or Granville SkyTrain stations or in front of the Best Buy location on Robson and Granville, because I don't think they appreciate not being able to assume the high moral ground over an ex-Jehovah's Witness. And thanks to what they tried to do in court and got caught attempting to do in court, and my exoneration, I'm in a position to go up to them at this point, and as you've seen in the last couple of videos, just say nothing. And those aren't edited videos. I wasn't talking and then cut out myself talking just to make it look like I'm something I'm not. I'm literally standing there saying nothing, and they're just leaving. Because why? Maybe you can tell me why they're just leaving. They're not even.
Yeah, go on.
They're not even bothering to.
Yeah. Now, how did you get out of the Jehovah's Witnesses, Stuart?
How did I what?
How did you awaken? What caused you not to want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore?
Simply put, the arrogance of the leadership. The arrogance of the leadership, and the lack of humanity in the judicial committees.
And Stuart, were you an elder or anything like that? Like, how did you know the inside workings of the elders and the leadership and everything?
I was on the servant body. I was appointed the literature coordinator for the 3 congregations that meet out of that Kingdom Hall on Robson. And so for about 2 years, I was single-handedly coordinating the literature. I was a regular pioneer, you know what that is, for about 6 years. And I was just very involved. I was never appointed an elder because of, the politics and so forth, but I was very active. I poured myself into it, and so I guess I wasn't officially an elder, but I was granted access to some of the inner workings, at least of that congregation. And as I say, it was the arrogance of the leadership locally and at the top, and the bullying, and not just the judicial committees, but even when elders pull somebody aside that they feel is stumbling or is spiritually weak or needs admonishment, etc., it's always in a 3-on-1 setting. and they don't listen. Jehovah's Witnesses do not listen to people who are A, not Jehovah's Witnesses, or B, quote unquote, spiritually weak in their eyes. And it's just an arrogance that I saw over and over and over that told me, no, these people can't possibly be what they are asserting to be, God's true and only servants. And then, of course, the research. And then when the floodgates were opened after watching all the other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses making videos told me, yeah, there's obviously something to this, and then watching the card crashing videos, and then going out and kind of challenging my old friends, putting myself in that situation where I wasn't just crashing cards with Jehovah's Witnesses I didn't know, but Jehovah's Witnesses who I knew and who knew me going back 10 or 15 years, and the awkwardness of that told me that it was the right thing to do to leave and to join this movement that's whose time has come, right? There's no stopping an idea whose time has come, and the idea of Watchtower being a thing of the past, I think, has come. So you're doing such a fantastic job, Doctor. I appreciate your support and the letter you wrote and all the work that you're doing. Your insights are spot on. Spot on.
Stuart, can you tell me when your eyes started to open, how did that affect your relationship with your friends inside the congregation as they watched you fall away from the group? That must have had a tremendous impact on your relationships and yourself.
Yeah, there's. I think that's where people will end up committing suicide. That's a long process. Drifting away from Jehovah's Witnesses when you've been one for a considerable amount of time is a long, painful process, and the depression and the loneliness are definitely a factor for anybody with blood in their veins. So, but it's not about how hard it is. In the mind of one of Jehovah's Witnesses, it doesn't matter how hard it is for somebody to leave. It matters how hard it is to watch somebody go. See, the hardship is not that of the ex-Jehovah's Witness. The hardship that matters is the hardship endured by active Jehovah's Witnesses who have to watch their friends give up on life, give up on God, give up on being a true Christian. So it's even when an ex-Jehovah's Witness is suffering the effects of breaking their conditioning, it's hard for Jehovah's Witnesses to go through that. So there's a victimology there that just never ends. And I'm thinking that's why they're not coming out to their locations here in downtown Vancouver, because now they're the victims of my exoneration. See, I should have had a peace bond imposed. I should have to live for another 12 months of not being able to come within 100 meters. Because I'm free, then that's their hardship. So Jehovah's Witnesses, and I find all cult members, will spin anything into it being something that somehow turns them into the victim, whereas the only thing that creates a victim is the poor me victim mentality. So to your question about how it affected me, yeah, I'm a human being, so I was depressed, and it was very difficult. And their reaction to me was just standoffish. I didn't contribute as much. I wasn't really participating in the meetings as much, and they could tell that I was drifting. And they didn't really care, which is fine, because I was just losing interest. And I'm very lucky. I didn't have family. I don't have any family that are Jehovah's Witnesses. So my leaving was a good thing in terms of my family, because I reconnected with family and friends who I had considered bad association for over 20 years, and I've picked up with family and friends now, and but it's a process to leave. But now so many people have done it that there's a lot of good advice out there. So,
Stuart, did you find it mentally difficult to transition from thinking that your family were something that you would stay away from because they weren't putting Jehovah first, etc.? How did you find your way back into accepting your family as actually the ones that you're supposed to love? How did you come out of the religious indoctrination, as it were, back into the reality of the family is really the people that are important?
That's a great question. They forgave me. I guess I'd been crashing for a few weeks, and then started reaching out to them, explaining that, okay, I'm transitioning away, and I'm sorry for writing you off and thinking that you weren't qualified for life the way I was trying to qualify for life by being such a quote-unquote devout, true, and exemplary Christian. I apologized to them, and they accepted me. Within seconds, they just forgave me, and they said, "Oh, Stuart, we've always loved you. We think you're a great person, and you're welcome over for dinner, and you can come visit and call anytime." So they made it very easy for me. I was very lucky. I don't know what would have happened if they had sort of shut the door and said, "Well, why don't you just stay with your Jehovah's Witness friends since we're not good enough for you?" It wasn't like that at all. They forgave me, and they embraced me. So I was very lucky that way.
That's evidence, isn't it, that the world isn't the way that the Jehovah's Witnesses paint it to be.
You said it. You said it. That's right.
On the one hand, you've got the JWs just turning their back on you and not wanting to understand your, your decisions, and then the other part of it is the family that was rejected immediately turned around and accepted you, regardless of either.
Immediately accepted me. That's right. Yeah. That's a good contrast. Yeah.
What I'm finding over here with the JDUBs is they put on this thing that they're apparently supposed to be scared, but I'm saying to them, you're out in the public, you've got to play by the public's rules. Your emotional reactions and conditions aren't a true indication of how I'm actually approaching you, which is usually, with manners and stuff. But gee, can't they try and twist things and turn things around on you?
Yeah, it's amazing. It is. It's frustrating. That's why. I agree. And I don't know if you saw the transcript, but Michael Onwood was just lying about when he first met me, when I first had contact with him. He said March or April. That was a lie. And you should have seen him in the courtroom, because you see where he says in the transcript, he says, Your Honor, after I've asked him the question.
Yes.
So the Crown prosecutor submits the evidence in the form of the testimony, and then as defense counsel, you're allowed to cross-examine. So there I am asking him questions, and he's deliberately looking away from me, looking up at the judge. He's not answering me.
I noticed that. Yeah.
So tell me, Mr. Morrison, when what did you have for breakfast today, Mr. Morrison? And you look at the judge and you say, Your Honor, I had bacon and eggs for breakfast today, just to deliberately ignore me.
I noticed
so
that.
Even in the courtroom, they were trying to sort of incite me and antagonize me to get me to sort of present as this unhinged.
I thought the judge.
Society.
It's funny you say that, Stuart, because as I was reading the transcript, I thought the judge would have stopped him from doing that, because you were asking the question and then he was addressing the judge, and I thought that was out of order.
I guess that's something that the judge let pass. But you see too that the judge was pretty cool about instructing them to answer the question about, I said, do you believe such and such? And then Onwood said, well, Jehovah's Witnesses believe, Jehovah's Witnesses teach. And then you saw the judge say, no, he asked you, what do you personally believe, trying to pin him down. So That was those few moments in that courtroom were worth all of the hours in jail and all the conditions imposed and all the betrayal from other activists while I was going through hell. To have those moments in court where an ex-Jehovah's Witness is putting questions to active Jehovah's Witnesses where they're under oath and have to answer, and the judge is instructing them to answer after they try evading. I mean, that's that is going to be a moment I won't soon forget. So, and it's frustrating because the best moments I think that ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are having in terms of exposing Watchtower, there's never a camera around, Like the best moments in my Carton Kingdom Hall crashing weren't captured, and of course, those moments in that courtroom. I mean, that footage of Sarah Michelle Traver and Michael Onwood in that courtroom, if it existed, would be such a blow to Watchtower. This is what courts can expect from Jehovah's Witnesses who want to try to use the legal apparatus to shut down a dissenting voice of an ex-Jehovah's Witness. This is what they will resort to. The sort of little tricks and looking at the judge and trying not to answer and all that, So it was like that footage of Angus Stewart questioning the elders in the Ark, and you saw the elders kind of just say, basically, no, we don't really care about children outside of the organization, It was damning. It was quite the indictment, but we'll see. We'll see.
Sorry, Stuart. How are you feeling?
Go ahead. Sorry.
You've been through quite a bit. How are you feeling now, Stuart? How are you going, mate?
I'm feeling very good. Yeah, Dwayne MacArthur in a video about 2 or 3 years ago said that his therapist was recommending activism as part of the recovery. And once I watched that video, I was off and running. And now that I've come this far and I've pushed it as far as I did, I am I think I'm about as fully recovered from Watchtower as a person with 23 years in can expect to be. So activism, any form of it that you want to take, you want to be aggressive, you want to do what Jude 3 is doing and actually reasoning from the scriptures with Jehovah's Witnesses. If it's your recovery, it's your journey, but definitely engaging with Jehovah's Witnesses in public is recommended for sure. So I'm feeling very good to your question. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And happy to be walking around Vancouver and not seeing them in all those locations. Kind of going, I did that.
That's tremendous. Just in closing, because I'll let you go, and I do want to thank you for your time, and I will speak to you.
Oh, thank you for all you've done, and
I just want to say, I don't think you realise how many people across the world you've impacted, Stuart. You've impacted people You've impacted and helped people.
I hope so.
Oh, you have, right across the world.
I'm glad because if it hadn't been for Zeb and Adrian impacting me and sort of making me decide that was something I wanted to contribute to, it never would have happened. So, a spirit overtook those two, Zeb and Adrian, and they ran with it, and then I ran with it too, and I'll never be prouder of whatever positive impact I've had on people to snap out of their trance, break their conditioning, and not be afraid of quote unquote Satan's world, because God doesn't need anyone. God doesn't need anyone else to bring out the best in you as an individual. And I've learned that, and I still believe. And there are no atheists in foxholes. And when I was sitting in that jail cell that second time after my breach, between you and I prayed harder than I had ever prayed as a Jehovah's Witness, because I was looking down the barrel of 6 weeks in jail before my trial started, where I wouldn't been able to defend myself because I would have been in jail for 6 weeks. So when that Crown prosecutor recommended a detention order, and then they took me back to my cell, and I was thinking it was going to be another 6 weeks in jail before I was going to be free because of the breach and because of how the police are obviously siding. It seemed to be siding with Jehovah's Witnesses at that point. I prayed on my knees harder in that jail cell than I ever did for Jehovah's Spirit, you know what I mean? So I've been blessed with a personal relationship that I just don't talk about. You know, it's a personal relationship. That's what they call it. Anyway, but I'm glad I've impacted others, and others have impacted me. And I still have a lot of fight left in me. Obviously, you know, I think I found my true calling. You know, I'm an activist, and I self-represented a criminal trial. So I appreciate a little bit about the provincial judicial system here in British Columbia now too. So I have to figure out what to do with this experience and understanding and the precedent I set, because I did set a precedent. So now I just have to see what, just be honest about staying truthful.
In closing, Stuart, you've given a bit of what a lot of people don't realise is when you do an interview like this or a talk like this, you can often feel a little bit empty when you hang up. Are you going to be right, mate?
Right.
Are you going to be okay when we hang up? And you know, you going all right over there?
Thank you for asking. I'm going to be okay. I've got a lot going on right now with some friends I've made and family.
Well, Stuart, in closing,
anyway,
mate, thank you for your time. I will ring you again.
Thank you for calling right away. Thank you so much, Doctor. Yeah.
It's fine. But look, I'm only an email away if you need anything. And just, you know, look after yourself, mate. Put yourself first, and that's the main thing, okay?
Thank you, brother. God bless, Jason.
Okay, take it easy, Stuart, and put yourself first.
I will, sir. You too.
Okay, bye
Thank
for
you.
now.
Look forward to your videos.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.